Right, okay, so for the first time in nearly a year, on this, the first Sunday of Advent, yeah, I went back to church. And if I'm being completely honest, the only reason I feel like I even thought to go at all was because I tried to just. It seemed like the right thing to do this time of year. In hindsight, however, I don't think it's done any good at all because just just trying to go there and trying to stay positive and not feel like I had like a good hour to just sort of be just collect my thoughts and whatnot and see if whether or not there was some level of guidance out there or something I could look ahead to and anything like that. I Yeah, nothing of the sort just sort of happened. All I really felt was just increasingly just angry and bitter and stressed and just overwhelmed and just with this feeling of just not have anything better to look ahead to. I'm just I'm just mad with it. I don't, and it's I just can't find any sort of like peace or quiet, and it's just misery and endless disappointment. And it's probably, you know what, I put it down to like possibly a few things, but one in particular. Um, it's a bizarre thing with like people with so I because honestly I say social anxiety. I don't necessarily believe it's a thing about social anxiety. It's just sometimes I genuinely do think hell is other people. I'm trying to stay positive in air of just coming back from church and stuff like that. But there's no point in denying it. There's no point in hiding it. There are just some days I just can't stand people, and there's no point in trying to hide it. And it's what am I supposed to say? It's a terrible thing. And the only thing that possibly is actually making me want to go back next Saturday is, strangely enough, I feel like I am at rock bottom. For not the first time this year, but many other times. But the significance of this one is that for some strange reason, it kind of felt good to actually wallow in the fact that, you know what, I didn't feel that vulnerable in letting it out. I really didn't. Which is it's a more encouraging thought than you might think, because we can't get any lower than this, which is what I said the last time this happened. However, it can only get better from here, can't it? And you know what? It was the feeling of actually being in church and actually singing hymns and taking time to reflect about exact like things in the in the pamphlets and all that about messages from the bishop and stuff like that. They were trying to explain about the younger generation becoming increasingly more interested in church, and it's a thing I've heard for months before and stuff like that. And personally, I put it down to one very simple thing: the world we live in right now is it's one of the most civilized, one of the best, but it can also be one of the most toxic and one of the most polarizing and divisive times of our lives. So that's, I think I do think sometimes I can see the good in the bad, and sometimes there's a lot of bad in when people try to preach and stuff like that, and they claim they are so much wiser and better than everyone else. But at the same time, it hasn't solved my problems or anything like that. It hasn't, and I'm not talking about my problems financially or anything like that. I'm talking about the problems of trying to make life just a little bit more bearable. That's what I'm trying to convey. Trying to just be rid with like all the weight of the world is just sort of on my shoulders right now, and I don't really know. Like, I've been told many. You know how many years have gone by? So I've been told to share my problems and stuff like that with people, and nothing changes. And right now, that's the kind of thing I feel like I'm in the middle of right now. Is that nothing is ever going to change, and the longer it goes on, the worse it's going to get, because you're fighting almost against despair. And even as I stand right now, literally, again, it's on days like this where I just badly want to drink and literally crawl into a bottle. It's on days like this where genuinely I'm wondering, well, why not just blow every last penny I have left and say, sod it, why should I care? I'll give you an answer to that, because I still care. I don't know about what. I don't know what there's left to care for. But there's got to be something somewhere. And I know things can get better. Yeah, of course, I'm not believing that. But you know what? I also said that at the very beginning of this year, when the last time I was at church, and they said that possibly one of us would be facing an incredibly demanding challenge this year. Okay, fantastic. He's proved his point. He was right. Okay, fantastic. Now what? How does that make things better? Just by predicting somebody's going to face the apocalypse. What good is that going to do? It's this whole business. It's just petty and indignant, and I still feel as if I'm just sort of there to suffer it until, for some reason, I'm made to suffer it no longer. So why on earth? So when you put it like that, why on earth would I want to go back next Saturday? Why would I want to put myself through that again? If something is going to make me feel like that unhappy. Because I haven't lost faith on myself. I haven't given up on myself. There's been many times before where I've been put in very similar situations. You know what? They've tried to tell me to give up on myself. And you know what? I've been involved in many things in my life where, you know what? The things that have happened to me were dreadful, unfair, completely one-sided. And nobody could care less. So whether I, responded negatively or anything like that. And you know what? I continued. I stayed exactly the same I was. Because you know what? I think being true and being fair to yourself is more important than being, petty and indignant. There's too many people out there in this world who should know an awful lot better, if you know what I mean. And I think I am one of those persons who probably knows better than anyone to know fine well that I should know a great deal better. I know fine well making a man miserable and forcing him to tears is dreadful, and it's pathetic beyond words. I don't need to be told that. But why is everyone else forcing me to tears? Then what's the point of that? In the same way that things that have happened to me before. One thing I was thinking about last night, school teachers know fine well that you don't drill it into somebody to behave, to be good, to do all that, and you will be entered into a draw. Possibly you might be rewarded to go abroad and stuff like that, and then you literally seduce it merely down to a lottery, not even based on any sort of performance, not based on any sort of merit or anything like that, not even based on good behavior. You just might be a little bit lucky. I don't believe in luck, guys. I honestly don't. Probably because of stuff like that. And to know that I was like not chosen despite everything I threw into what I was doing. I think the sort of step members of staff of schools who do stuff like that are completely inhumane monsters, in my opinion. And here is me trying to stay positive. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that's going to keep me going. So you know what? Maybe there was a whole point to going to church at all. Maybe the point is there, not because I've got to endure more suffering, but because I already know what I've been through. And you know what? I think there's somebody out there who knows that as well. So with that being said, I will see you guys again next time. There we go. Thank you.